Hello, Will Thilly. I guess I wanted to clarify that, the idea that Harts Mountain is not paying any taxes, that's not a rumor, it's true. That's a fact. You know what a pilot stands for? A payment in lieu of taxes. That means they're not paying any taxes. That's the definition. What it means, for anyone who's confused, is it means they don't pay any taxes for 30 years. And they're not paying any land taxes on the residential portion of the property. That's $100 million in taxes they would normally have to pay on that property that they won't be paying because our town decided, for reasons, good or bad, to offer them a 30-year tax exemption, which was not mandatory, and we can discuss why the committee gave them that in some other meeting, whatever. However, they do make a payment. They make a payment based on approximately 10% of their annual revenue to the town every year. The problem is towns are lucky to receive 15 to 18% of what they would receive if the developer had to pay their taxes in full. So instead of calling a pilot, we should probably call it something like an 85% tax exemption. But no taxes are paid. It's a pilot based on their self-reported revenue, which they have lots of ways of making that go down, depending on this and that. There's no guarantee there. And the question then is, and this is old news that I only bring up because it was mentioned, but why, and recently the committee tried to, I'm sorry, are you talking in the middle of a resident here speaking? I apologize. Thank you so much. And then the question that's been stated is why did the town give this 30-year tax exemption? And I appreciate that the mayor is not looking forward to doing any of these in the future, and that is great news. And I appreciate the work that's being done for future development to be minimized here. But since it was mentioned, it's been said that we gave this 30-year exemption to reduce density. Is that correct? I've heard it mentioned that it was to reduce the number of apartments built at the property. And the question is, how many units are we talking about? And if you don't want to answer now, I'll just quote what's been said previously by our attorneys in committee, that it was going to be 900 units is what they were going to build. And we, because we gave them this 30-year tax exemption valued to them about $85 million, that Hart said, oh, okay, we won't build 900 apartments here. We're going to build only 250. But then you got to ask yourself, if Harts was willing, are you saying that Harts was willing to reduce the density from 900 to 250, which is a 600-unit decrease? That would cost Harts, do you know how much in revenue? That means they were going to lose about $950 million in revenue by making that reduction. And I ask you, why would a developer agree to lose out on a potential $950 million in revenue over 30 years for an $85 million tax reduction? So that's a question that there can be a very good explanation, but it's something that obviously right there doesn't make sense when you look at the numbers. So I'm open to a give and take discussion, but I only mention this because it was brought up. I wanted to talk about happier things. I hope we can have back and forth here. I know you guys want to just have me speak and then answer later, but I think we should have an opportunity to at least respond. If anything's said about what we say up here, we should have a response period. And I think avoiding open discussion with each other is the definition of not being transparent, the very definition. It's the absolute opposite of what we want to have talking to each other. And misunderstandings happen because, of not having back and forth, I think. And another thing, Harts Mountain, not only, they get this tax break, of course, But the residents there, I was driving by, you know, they're going to be, I appreciate it, I'll finish this sentence if it's okay, 5 seconds. Just to keep in mind, you know, those residents are going to be spending all their money down at Clark Commons while sending all their students and school children to Walnut Ave. Food for thought. Thank you so much. Sorry. Appreciate it.
Can I just make a comment? Mr. Thilley, you come to just about every workshop meeting, and as you well know, whatever, an hour or two earlier, you were in the conference before we came in here, and every single one of those workshop meetings, it is back and forth discussion that you participate in every workshop meeting. So to stand there and say, we're not being transparent, there's no back and forth give and take conversation, is not true.
Thank you. And Harts Mountain is paying taxes at the 740 Walnut. They will pay $1.2 million in the first year, which would be prorated this year, but then starting next year. 22% of that will go to the municipality, 56% of that, or almost $680,000, will go to the schools. $240,000 of that will go to the county, and the library will get their share at $20,000. So they are paying taxes, and I understand that they're not on the residential side, but they are paying taxes, and the schools will be seeing their fair share of that. I've had multiple people at Track 5, at the gym, at the pools, tell me that you've been going around saying they're paying nothing, zero. So
who's been saying that?
I've spoken to multiple people at different locations, and we hear it when we knock on doors, we hear it. So you get up here and tell people that we're not being transparent. Everything's on the website, everything's there. We have conversations with you. I know Commissioner Milaprenti met with you and explained a lot of this, and still you go around telling people things that are not true. So it's really disheartening. I'm more than happy to have a conversation on the facts. I don't agree with pilots. This township committee, as it's composed right now, did not approve these pilots. We are unfortunately in the process of having to deal with them. So this was a whole thing at the time. The density was for 36 acres. So that was 900 units on 36 acres. Half of that property is now commercial, which was part of the way to reduce density. And from my understanding, the number was still at 275, and there were members of the committee at that time who thought that was too much. So to reduce it further, they negotiated the pilot. We did not do that. I did not do that. I did not sign that. But that's what was done, and that's what we're left to deal with. We are receiving revenue from 750. We're receiving full land and property taxes on the 740 side of Walnut.
That's true. Yeah, 740 in agreement, so you know.
Right,
Public
which is actually going to be more than the entire property was prior to the development.
Yeah, but
so, Mr. Thilley, we have a back and forth constantly in the workshop. This is not the venue for that. If you want to discuss it in workshop, we're more than happy. You have your 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Township Administrator, you have any comments?
Yes. Pre-pilot, when it was 750 Walnut Avenue, the assessment was over $17 million. With the proposed pilot that we're doing now, the total assessment will be $22,450,000. That means $4.7 million more in assessment, which means more money in taxes. The commercial portion, which was already explained by the mayor, is the land and the improvement are both on the tax levy, and we'll be receiving more taxes on the property than before. In reference to the residential piece, the land is being taxed. They are on the tax levy. That means it's in our net valuation. That's the most important part. We want the assessments to be higher because the higher our assessments are for the whole township means the net valuation is higher, and that's what we need when we're doing our budget. That's what the value of the township is, and that's really what we should be looking at. In reference to the pilot with the cash that we're getting from the residential side, that is not part of the levy. You are correct on that. That is not part of the levy, but what we're trying to explain to you is that our assessments are higher now with this pilot. Therefore, the taxes will be higher on the tax levy. and we still will be getting a pilot, which I agree, you're correct, that is not on the tax levy, but we're trying to say to you, because this is mixed with commercial, our total tax assessment on this property that we broke into two basically is $4.7 million higher in tax assessment on a tax roll, which will help the net valuation of the township and would also help the taxes coming in. But again, you are correct about the pilot. The pilot is the residential income, that's the improvement on the property at the residential side, which we will not be getting taxes on. That's what we call the pilot, which would be getting 11% of the revenue.
But just to be clear, we are receiving a payment from the residential side.
Yes, we'll be receiving a tax payment on land only, and we'll be receiving the pilot portion on the percentage of the revenue that it brings in.
I think it's important for people to understand the pilot is also revenue coming into the town, pilot money.
Absolutely, but it's not like, I just want to be clear, like, we are getting more money in taxes in the tax levy because the assessment got increased $4.7 million due to that it's a mixed use. We have commercial and residential. We are getting more money in taxes, and we are getting a higher assessment, is really a goal of the township. We want the value of the township to be higher. It helps with the budget. Also, the pilot is another piece that it's not part of the tax, but also revenue coming into the township that we wouldn't have gotten before.